Hello, my name is Tony. Clint Eastwood was in some of the greatest westerns ever produced by modern cinema, but by the mid-70s the genre had become unfashionable, and westerns weren't big money spinners anymore. No, that would be homicidal killer sharks and retarded simpletons in spaceships. Never one to tolerate being squashed into some dumb act for long or prevented from making the films he wanted to make, Eastwood chose this moment in time to return to the western genre with the Outlaw Josey Wales. Commercial suicide is a term that sprang to mind in the mindless minds of many, but it proved not to be so, for Josey Wales was a commercial hit and fared reasonably well with critics. Originally the director was Philip Kaufman, who also scripted. However, Eastwood and Kaufman clashed, each with a different vision of how the film should be. Then, furthermore divisively, they both had the hots for Sondra Locke. Rumour has it that Kaufman became increasingly fixated, difficult and belligerent the more Locke gravitated towards Eastwood. It ended up with Eastwood firing Kaufman and directing the picture himself. This may have been a good thing, because whichever way it cuts, we still got a storming great western and one of the very best Eastwood films of the 70s. I can't imagine it being any other way than the way it is, nor would I want it to be. The Outlaw Josey Wales is a stone-cold stunner. Who is Josey Wales? Played by Clint Eastwood, he begins screen life as a sodbuster toiling on a small Missouri farmstead at the time of the American Civil War. He's got a wife and young son. A pro-Union paramilitary unit under the command of the film's main villain, Captain Terrell, Bill McKinney, burns down the farm, murders his wife and son, and leaves Wales for dead. Terrell cleaves his sword into Wales's face, causing a livid vertical scar down one side. A constant reminder of a wrong that needs to be righted and a burning desire for revenge. After burying his wife and son, Wales digs his pistol out of the ashes of his home and practices with it. A band of Confederate bushwhackers happen by, led by William T. Bloody Bill Anderson, John Russell. Wales joins them. The trajectory of the war is shown as the opening credits, and Jerry Fielding's jauntily militaristic main theme plays. Forged in the crucible of warfare, Josey becomes a hardened guerrilla fighter, a master of dealing death with dual pistols wielded on horseback, a crack shot and fierce killer. The central narrative kicks off at the end of the war in 1865. Josey and the remnants of Anderson's bushwhackers are a beaten and ragged bunch. The leader, Captain Fletcher, John Vernon, persuades them to surrender to Unionist troops under the leadership of Senator James Lane, Frank Schofield. They are promised amnesty and freedom. All agree to the terms except for Josey. He refuses to surrender. No point in going home when you've got no home and nothing to go back to. At the Unionist camp, Fletcher finds that Terrell is there working for Lane. It's a trap, and Unionist troops open fire on the Confederates, gunning them down where they stand. Josey intervenes and kills many enemy soldiers until he and young bushwhacker Jamie, Sam Bottoms, escape, but not before Terrell shoots Jamie in the back. Fletcher decides to join Terrell on the hunt for Josey Wales, whom Lane wants captured and executed at any cost. From Fletcher's end, ashamed of his betrayal of his own men, he feels he must follow through on his actions and hound Wales to death. And so the odyssey of Josey Wales proper begins. It is fraught with action and danger, and the forming of relationships with new characters as they are introduced. Josey seems to attract strays. After Jamie dies of his wounds, he is joined by elderly Cherokee Native American Lone Watty, Chief Dan George, Navajo woman Little Moonlight, Geraldine Keams, and an emaciated red-boned dog. Along the way, Josey rescues grandmother Sarah Turner, Paula Truman, and her granddaughter Lori Lee, Sondra Locke, from a band of marauding Comancheros. They all travel to the virtual ghost town of Santo Rio, with cattle and supplies retrieved from the Comancheros, where they encounter a group of colourful and lively characters. Travis, Sheb Woolley and Chateau, John Veros, friends of Sarah's deceased son Tom, help them to set up home at Tom's abandoned ranch, and a community is formed. However, the threats are ever present. Terrell and Fletcher, along with bounty hunters, are getting closer, and the local Comanche chief Ten Bears, Will Sampson, and his tribe of warriors are not exactly overjoyed at the presence of these new interlopers, setting up shop in their territory. The inevitable climax will inevitably involve bloodshed and death, but perhaps also resolution and redemption. We shall see. Remember when films had character arcs and story arcs? Remember those? You know, when we had characters who start out as one thing and over the course of the narrative gradually transform into different people in response to changing developments in the storyline, how they evolve. The narrative arc, the dynamic structure of the story, depicts the action and events and how they impact on the characters. None of this needs to be fixed or linear, but they are critical in engaging the interest and attention of an audience and indeed making a good movie. Or so I believe anyway. The Outlaw Josey Wales is a prime example of how to do it and do it damned well. Today's filmmakers should be forced to watch it repeatedly in Clockwork Orange style until they bloody well get it. The West is a dangerous and dirty place. Everyone at some point is caked and streaked with grit, grime, dust and grease, and conditions are downright unsanitary. The environments are not bright, glowing, technicolor fantasy dreamscapes. They are harsh and unpleasant realities, photographed in a way that finds a curious sort of beauty in ugliness. The look is a revisionist one, and Eastwood's favourite lensman, Bruce Surtees, who was a master of his craft, frames and captures it all in C-ring style. Jerry Fielding delivers yet another solid and memorable soundtrack, the main theme of which is instantly recognisable once heard, unlikely to be mistaken for anything else. Eastwood's direction, especially in his handling of the rapid-fire action sequences, is a testament to his progress as an artist. It was his best directorial work to this point, perhaps the moment when critics and his peers came to realise what many of us already knew: this guy can direct a fucking movie. He doesn't really put a foot wrong, approaching scenes and subjects with a rare sensitivity tempered with a wickedly dark sense of humour, for despite the gravity of the subject matter, it succeeds in being one hell of a funny film, which is largely due to Kaufman's grimly sardonic and reflective script. Chief Dan George is just the right side of being a comedy foil to Eastwood's hard-bitten Avenger, and has some cracking observational lines. His philosophical monologues are priceless, especially so in the face of Josey's taciturn indifference. In fact, the film is booby-trapped with zinging, quotable snatches of dialogue, my personal favourite being,
"Dying ain't much of a living, boy."
Directed by Wales at a once cocksure bounty hunter whose composure is rapidly deserting him. The supporting performances and characters, although some might feel them to be cliched constructs, ring and resonate with authenticity because the ensemble cast is effectively skilled and capable. Even Sondra Locke manages to maintain a pleasing naivete and restraint, and Bill McKinney encapsulates a masterclass of savage, brooding evil as the unrepentant and irredeemable Terrell. Josey Wales is the axis everything pivots around, and it's just as well Eastwood is on hand to follow his own direction and deliver one of his most compelling screen performances. He takes Wales' filthy habit of chewing tobacco and spitting tobacco juice and makes it by turns into a joke and signature. It acts as a preface to action and also signifies a full stop for certain moments. In his hands, Wales becomes as iconic a character as the Man with No Name and Harry Callahan. In fact, he arguably has more of a character arc in the course of a single film than either. Perhaps that's why Eastwood felt it was best to only play him the once. So what's it really about? It's about war and the effects of war. It's about loss and grief. It's about family and community and adapting to change. And it's about life and death. Perhaps the key thematic moment is to be found in Wales' meeting with Ten Bears. It mirrors structurally his confrontation with the Comancheros. Wales faces those marauders alone under a flag of peace, but has no intention of negotiating. He kills them one by one in a guerrilla attack on horseback, firing his dual pistols relentlessly, wiping them out. He is prepared to take on Ten Bears and his warriors in the same way, but this time it's different. In a beautifully played scene, Eastwood and Sampson face each other. Two men standing outside of the false promises of duplicitous governments, the inequality of a loaded legal system. Two warriors deciding whether it will be war and death or peace and life. Ten Bears proves more civilized and humane than the faceless politicos who run the show. He sees in Wales truth and honesty. They are brothers. The right decision is made. It will be life. Maybe that's the way it should always be. The one sticky wicket for me at any rate is Fletcher. Played marvellously by John Vernon, he is still a betrayer, a traitor, who took Union money to sell out his own people and lead them to their deaths. I can accept that he didn't know they would be killed, but it doesn't alter the fact he chose to go after Wales because of bad choices he made. That's not taking responsibility, that's covering up a crime by murdering a witness. So the ending then, and why I'm torn between the one we got and the one I would have liked. Stop now if you so wish, as there will be spoilers. After spending the night with Laurie Lee, obviously she was going to put out sooner or later, Josey decides to ride away as he represents a danger to the people he has come to care about. Before he gets very far, he is faced with Terrell and his men at the river. A battle ensues in which, backed up by his adopted family with rifles from the ranch house, Terrell's men are all killed. Terrell runs for it, pursued by a bullet-wounded Josey. Wales catches up with him and impales him on his own sword. Entering the saloon in Santo Rio, Josey finds Fletcher is there with 2 government rangers. The locals are explaining how they witnessed an outlaw known as Josey Wales being killed in a gunfight with 5 pistoleros just across the Mexican border. The rangers get affidavits signed by the witnesses and, satisfied, take their leave. Fletcher remains and states he didn't believe the story. He announces he will head to Mexico to find Josey Wales and tell him the war is over. Of course, he knows Wales is stood right in front of him. Josey responds with,
I reckon so. I guess we all died a little in that damn war.
They go their separate ways. I know, it's a decent ending, perhaps even existentially profound. Josey's thirst for revenge has been satisfied, he has found a new family, a community purpose, and it acknowledges that. But me being me, I wanted one last shootout. How about the Rangers leave believing Josey is dead, but Fletcher remains because he knows the truth, and is killed by Josey in a gunfight, being the treacherous, money-grabbing collaborator scumbag he was. The others help Josey bury the body before he returns to the ranch. Now I'll go with what we got, because there's no other choice, is there? And I can see the logic in it and how it fittingly concludes the character and story arc. I still wanted Fletcher to get a bullet in the face, but I guess deserve's got nothing to do with it. Sue me. The Outlaw Josey Wales is a great elegiac western and a great film with a great, moody, beautiful feel to it. An animated tapestry that boasts both style and content that hits you right where it matters. Politically, at low level critiques big government and war, whilst favouring a faith in people and their desire to just get along with their lives and each other, adapting and making allowances as they go. Yeah, so it's idealised, probably simplistic, but as pure, unadulterated movie entertainment goes, it gets it dead right, pilgrims. Immense thanks as always for your time and attention. Feel free to do whatever you choose to do next. Hit like, don't like, comment, subscribe, check out my early access Patreon thing, or even make a welcome financial contribution via the thanks button. Gotta keep those wheels turning somehow. Something else will materialise in a bit, so until then, take care and avoid the Missouri boat ride, I reckon.